Hey friends, thanks for joining us. As always, we do appreciate it. On the line, we have the founder of PANDA, People Against the NDAA, Dan Johnson. We spoke with Dan back on January 9th when he told us why we must stand up to tyranny. And Dan, I just mentioned you in an interview that I did with Mark from Prepper Recon podcast just the other day, because I was reminding listeners that we like to provide solutions and we like to interview people who are out there actively fighting tyranny and providing solutions. And one of the solutions you stand for is dismantling this damn tyrannical NDAA. How are you? Welcome back.
I'm doing great, and it's good to be back.
I'm hoping you could just remind people what you are all about. What is PANDA up to? I was hoping you could give us an update, let people know how and why they should get involved, and maybe there's some exciting news that we can discuss too.
Sure, absolutely. So just a quick recap on the NDAA for those of you who don't remember what that stands for. National Defense Authorization Act is a military funding bill, usually just funds the military, passed every year by Congress. And the NDAA of 2012 essentially allows the military to indefinitely detain any person, including an American citizen, without a charge, without a trial, execute them, perform full military lockdowns of cities. It is essentially handing what was once a constitutional republic and turning it into a military dictatorship. Regardless of whether you think the person at the top is a dictator, the fact that they have the military powers of a military dictatorship makes them a de facto military junta. And that's what we're looking at today with the 2012 NDAA. So PANDA was formed back in January 2012 to fight 2012 NDAA. And we work on a local level in cities and in counties and in a little bit at the state level as well to not so much repeal the law, but to interpose against it and to put the state and local governments in between their people, their citizens, and a rogue federal government. And that's what we do and what we've been doing for a little over 2 years now.
Now, just to remind people, too, this imposter-in-chief, today I posted a piece at SGT Report in which we called him the criminal-in-chief, because he is now saying that he is willing and may well veto any legislative bills that are passed that require him to follow the law. He's going outside the bounds of the law as it pertains to Obamacare and in many other ways. And I just want to remind people that I believe it was back on New Year's Eve of 2011. Is that correct, that he said he would not sign this bill, and he went ahead and signed it on New Year's Eve?
It was a little before New Year's Eve. Yeah, he issued a veto threat and said, I'll never sign this. I'm for civil liberties and such. And then, of course, New Year's Eve, he flies off to Hawaii and signs it.
Yeah, seems to be a lot of shenanigans going on in Hawaii, and we wonder also about the death of the person who was the guardian of his birth certificate in Hawaii. But let's stay on track with what you guys are up to. I want to remind people, too, that you can get involved and make a difference in your local community and state by joining PANDA and getting the word out so that your city council and all of your local leaders understand how tyrannical the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, is, and you can get involved in helping to, as Dan said, interpose. Your state can interpose in between you and the criminal feds should they want to come and arrest you, et cetera, which this tyrannical piece of legislation allows them to do. So you can get involved and you can make a difference. And if you want a great example of that, you can check out the most powerful speech ever by Daphne Lee on the NDAA. And although Daphne Lee says she's just a mom, she is truly a liberty-minded, passionate constitutionalist who gave one of the most powerful speeches about the NDAA that you will ever see. She lives in Nevada. She's the state director of PANDA, and she got involved with Dan's group. And one person can really make a difference, can't they, Dan?
Absolutely. And you look at PANDA as an example. I mean, someone doesn't just join PANDA. We help them. They gather the material. They decide, I'm part of the resistance. I'm going to take a stand against the NDAA, and they don't join an organization. They grab the material, and we say, all right, well, we're willing to help you out. And they may want to take an official position with us, but generally we give them the information because it's information necessary for liberty, it's necessary for freedom, it's necessary for civil rights. And that's what Daphne really pushed for out in Clark County, and she eventually won. She turned a 6-0 vote against her to a 6-0 vote in her favor, because you have to understand the only thing that matters in politics is pressure. And we help you bring pressure to your local government, local officials. They haven't done their job in 150 years, but we help people get them and get their local officials to do their job.
Yeah, there's so many young people out there making a difference and inspiring others. I mean, Luke Rakowski started We Are Change. You started PANDA. I try to talk with people about solutions all the time. We talked to Harley Schlanger from LaRouche about trying to impeach Obama, trying to reinstate Glass-Steagall. There's lots of people trying to take our republic back. And I think for me, that's the cup half full part. I try to be optimistic. I try to look at the cup half full. I try to remain hopeful because, as I've said recently in interviews, and I say a lot, as long as we still have our Second Amendment rights, we can guarantee our First Amendment rights to free speech. Those, to me, are the two most important, because those are the two that give the people the most power and allow us to retain our sovereignty. And, you know, free speech is a big part of that. So you're brave and courageous, and I really admire that about you, getting out there, speaking out against this federal tyrannical monolith. I mean, it's really scary, the NDAA, what they passed, what they did, what they really did under the cover of darkness. They buried it into this huge Pentagon funding bill, this military funding bill. They hid it in there, allowing any sitting president to arrest anybody that they may possibly deem a terrorist in the middle of the night and hold you in essentially a military dungeon without the writ of habeas corpus, without the right to a trial, without knowing what you're accused of. And then I think even your relatives, anybody who knows you were snatched, legally can't talk about it, or they'll go to jail. Is that correct?
Well, they could be viewed as substantially supporting someone who commits a belligerent act, and that's the problem with the NDAA. Is it allows this kind of such a broad interpretation, in fact, that there's a provision in the 2012 NDAA that says the Secretary of Defense must report to Congress how they're interpreting the law this year. That's horrible. When the consequences of possibly going afoul of this law are indefinite military detention, and Congress has to be updated as to how they're now interpreting this part of the law, that is way too vague, and that's why we assist people, and that's why we take stands against it.
Yeah, it's just the most insane thing. Well, maybe you can share good news with us. Are there any updates, state updates you want to give us? Any updates at all that you want to share with us? And I know you do have one big announcement that we'll get to.
Absolutely. Some updates since we last talked. The first county in the nation defeated the NDAA on February 24th. Gem County, Idaho, in a vote of 2-1, banned the laws of war, banned the NDAA from that county. That is the first county. It joins 4 other cities. And today, actually, breaking news, we haven't even gotten a press release out, so this is exclusive, right on Sergeant Report. The Ohio legislature had just passed a resolution today. I believe it was 94-2 or 96-2. And the legislation says that the state of Ohio condemns the NDAA. It asks the Attorney General to file suit against the law on a facial basis, and which is the part I'm excited about, is it submits a official request to the media of Ohio from the Ohio legislature to cover the NDAA. Now, as you know, the NDAA has gotten little to no media coverage. In fact, the Young Turks did a piece on how little it was covered. It was mentioned 2 times in CNN primetime when it was being passed into law. And those 2 times were just to assure people it's nothing to worry about. So the 2012 NDAA getting covered by the Ohio media. It's moving on to the Senate. The bill has to pass the Senate and be signed by the governor. But once it is passed by the Senate, the Ohio media would pretty much be forced to, official request from the legislature is not something you ignore, to cover the NDAA and really bring this debate into the living rooms of Ohioans.
This is why we stay in touch with you, Dan. It's always nice to get a first-hand update from a young man who's really leading the charge for liberty and who founded an organization that's really making a difference. Again, I think it's very inspiring. And it does prove that one person can make a difference and inspire others to join in. Now I want to talk about your big announcement. I mentioned earlier in the interview Luke Rudkowski, the founder of We Are Change, another guy who's really sparked others to take action and get involved, because he puts out videos that people watch on YouTube and go, oh my gosh, it's that easy? I can go down and get in the face of my representative and make him answer these questions? And if he doesn't answer them on video, he'll look like the fool, not me. This is great. I want to do this. It's very inspiring. So tell us a little bit about your big announcement, will you?
Absolutely. So in order to understand the big announcement, I think it's important to look at the strategy that we've employed and where this fits in the strategy. So the strategy we've taken, we've encouraged other people to take in beating back the NDAA is threefold. The first is to pass a resolution, piece of legislation saying that the NDAA laws of war are illegal to apply here in this city or here in this county. The second phase is to bring the police and the sheriff departments in to back that resolution, put it in their official policy. That way we have double protection. You know, there's a famous quote that it is difficult to get a man to understand something when his job depends on him not understanding it. Well, we're turning that quote in our favor. If their job depends on them not understanding the military's request to detain someone and they could get fired for honoring that request, odds are they will not engage in that request, because feeding your family is a very powerful motivator. The third phase is to set up a citizens watch, neighborhood watch, to keep an eye on the local police department, keep an eye on the local government, and ensure they're following the resolution. They're following, then they're protecting the rights of the people of their city and the people of their county. When we get to this phase, we realize that American culture is going to have to change, because right now there's kind of an okay. There's kind of like, well, if it's a Muslim and somebody wants to detain them, I guess they can. And that's a very dangerous mentality to take. We've taken this mentality with Irish Catholics, taken this mentality with Japanese, is there's this small group of people that I guess it's okay to detain them. And what we want to do with the Take Back Tour is we want to change American culture against indefinite detention. And how you do that is with music. If we put out a press release today, and we will put out a press release about this Ohio piece of legislation passing, about a week from now, no one's going to see it. Maybe 3 or 4 people a week. No one's going to care, because we have this news cycle that's so constant in America. But a song, it gets heard over and over and over and over and over again, and people think about it over and over and over again, so that 20 years down the road, you know, we're still playing anti-war music today from Woodstock. That was a long time ago. So that's the way you fundamentally transform the culture. And it's further backed up by, in Soviet Russia, you literally could not sing a song until you got your lyrics approved by the Russian government. If that doesn't tell you the power, the influence that music has, I don't know what will. So we've launched the Take Back Tour, the Take Back Concert Tour. This is a 3-stop tour. The first stop is in Kalamazoo, Michigan, April 19th. The anniversary of the start of the American Revolution. The second stop is May 25th in Atlanta, Georgia. The third stop is June 7th, Albany, New York. These 3 stops, we're going to have about 3,000 people at each stop. This is a concert tour. We're bringing in artists. We're having over 7 songs specifically made about the NDAA are going to be played at these events. And this is going to start to change the culture, so that step number 3, the people remaining ever vigilant and refusing to allow this to happen, will be bolstered by music and essentially invading and converting the arts and entertainment of this country by showing them something different, showing them something better. Here's the better way. We don't want to tell people how to think. We want to tell people to think. But when people think, they often choose liberty over tyranny. And the Take Back Concert Tour, that's what it's designed to do, is we're solidifying the third phase by injecting the NDAA into American music and into American culture.
Yeah, that's cool. And the reason I brought Luke's name up a couple times here is because it's not just artists and musicians, it's speakers. I think one of your speakers is going to be Luke Rudkowski, correct?
Absolutely, yes. We're having several speakers, from Luke Rudkowski to Catherine Bernard, to several speakers from across the spectrum, who are all coming together to discuss essentially the future of this nation and how we, as both younger and an older generation, can come together to create that future through music and through art and through political activism.
Well, that's awesome, and people can find out more about the Take Back Tour at your website, and I want to make sure everybody understands where that website is and how they can get the resources, to learn more so that they can take action in their own communities. Can you shout out your website for us?
Absolutely. There's two websites. One, if you caught the vision of taking back your community, taking back your city, taking back your county, pandaunite.org/takeback. That's pandaunite.org/takeback. If you want tickets, you want to get a ticket and show up at one of the events at the tour event, you want to support it financially or support it and promote it, the Take Back Tour is takebacktour.com. That's takebacktour.com. You can find all the information about speakers, artists, and get tickets to the tour stops on that website. Again, takebacktour.com.
Well, I just think it's fantastic, and I appreciate everything you're doing. I appreciate your energy, too. It's good to have youth on your side, my friend. It gives you energy to do this kind of stuff.
And it's really fun, and I couldn't do this without the help of our national staff, without the help of all the partner organizations out there who have really pushed us forward. So this is a coalition effort. This is an effort of people, of average citizens. I was just a college student when I started this, and nothing special. But it's a coalition of average citizens and above average citizens, really, all across the country, who are getting together and saying, my children's future is more important than my cup of Starbucks. And I'm going to go take action in my city council, my county level, and I'm going to help change the culture, the music and the arts of this nation toward freedom and toward liberty, and that's what we're designed to do.
Well, it's pretty cool. Guys, this is coming from a young man who doesn't even have children yet. So he's fighting for his progeny. The children will come one day, and hopefully this will be a better country, the country that it once was once again. And if that happens, it'll be to the credit of men like Stuart Rhodes, Dan Johnson, and so many others who are standing up for liberty and the Constitution. So Dan Johnson, thanks for joining us so much. We really do appreciate everything you're doing, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for all the work you do in spreading the word and getting the information out for liberty. And people really need to support your efforts as well in getting this news out and really becoming a powerful force, spreading the ideas to the rest of the nation.
Thank you. It's really my honor to be able to speak with guys like you. It really is. All right, Dan Johnson, thanks so much. And guys, thanks for tuning in. As always, we very much appreciate it. And you can check out real news, truthful news, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at sgtreport.com and our sister site, thelibertymill.com. We very much appreciate your support. Have a great week. Bye-bye. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, bud. Catch you later.
Bye.